Hello, thank you for joining us today to talk a little bit about how to successfully start homeschooling, unpacking your options with Abeka. My name is Amy Yohe. I am the principal for Abeka Academy. We'll be telling you a little bit more about that homeschooling option in just a moment. This is my 23rd year in the field of education, having taught, principled, homeschooled my children for small seasons of time that I'll tell you a little bit about later, and then now serving as the principal of Abeka Academy. We do have 6 children. They range in age from 27 to 4, so we get to live in several different worlds at one time. And I'm thrilled to have joining me today my friend and colleague, Charlene.
Thank you. My name is Charlene Milner, and I am the brand coordinator for Abeka. I have homeschooled for 18 years. I have loved every minute of it, and we have 2 children, 13 to 24, and obviously nobody in between.
And you're 2 sweet girls. They are such a blessing. So I know that your homeschooling adventure has been a blessing to your family as well as to us as we've gotten to interact and know your daughters. Well, we are thrilled today to have a number of families joining us to talk a little bit about these options. And that's the wonderful thing about homeschooling, Charlene, is it's full of options. It's wonderful, but it can be a little bit overwhelming.
Definitely.
I think at times. So it'll be fun to unpack some of these options today with those joining us. I think for the most part, those joining us probably fit into one of 2 categories, one of which you're familiar with and one of which our family would fit into a bit more. Live to homeschool or homeschool to live is how I've heard it described. So tell us a little bit, Charlene, about living to homeschool.
We definitely were a family to live to homeschool. It was our desire, if the Lord ever blessed us with children, that we would homeschool. And what we mean when we say live to homeschool, that is what we wanted to do. Some will homeschool to live because of certain circumstances, but we definitely were that family that dived in and said, okay, we took each year at a time, but we knew, we prayed that each year it was the option for us to homeschool.
So your lives and the other decisions that you make kind of centered around the fact that you wanted to be home and homeschooling your girls. That's fantastic. For us, we were the opposite end of the extreme that you mentioned. It was more circumstantial for us that occasionally we homeschooled to live. I don't even know if I've ever told you this, Charlene, but our oldest son broke his femur when he was in high school and couldn't be in the school environment, the Christian school environment at that time that we were in. And so for a season, a brief season, we homeschooled to live so that we could get him through that school year successfully. And so some experience on our end that's a little bit opposite of yours, but I think between us we represent the families that are joining us today. So whatever the circumstances are that you find yourself in as we're coming into a new school year, you can be successful with the options that are available to you with homeschooling. And that's our goal today, is to talk to you a little bit about how Abeka would love to come alongside and partner with you in this endeavor. Even coming to a single provider like Abeka, though, sometimes can be a little overwhelming if you're not sure which option, which direction you want to go. So let's talk a little bit first about the different program options that are available to you through Abeka. And this first one that we're going to look at is the parent-led option. This is the option where mom, dad, or somebody else in the home or in your family environment is the teacher. You are interacting throughout the school day, teaching your children the content through the parent-led program. And Abeka can come alongside you and support that by giving you the opportunity to order kits or either individual products that would support your homeschooling journey. And Charlene, is that more the option that your family took? You purchased materials and you taught your daughters?
Definitely. Even though I'm mom, I was also teacher. And that is an overwhelming responsibility because their education is now in your hands or on your shoulders. But Abeka is amazing. They just come alongside of you and just help you through with every aspect of that education for your children. And we just love that option.
I bet you look back with no regrets about the hours spent
Not a regret.
in that option. So parent-led is an option for you. And for each of these options, I would encourage you to go to the website and look at the catalog. So go under the homeschool tab on the website, the resources, look at the catalog, and for any grade level, manual, it's going to spell out for you one spread after another of these different options, and one of which would be that parent-led option. So let's talk about another one, and this one's kind of on the other end of that spectrum. And again, I find myself kind of on the opposite end of where you found yourself, Charlene. This would be the Abeka Academy video option, and specifically the accredited option in Abeka Academy video. So in this option, you still would function, mom or dad, as what I would call the on-site teacher, right. More of a proctor, yes. But definitely keeping track of your child's education and being responsible to make sure that things go smoothly. But in this option, as the proctor, you're going to receive from the accredited program a couple of added values, really at no extra charge. When you choose video as your option, you're going to get the accredited option at no additional charge. But what happens is you get somebody to come alongside you, provide the support that you need, whether that's academic support, perhaps with some tutoring that your child is needing from an academic help here at Abeka Academy, or just the added accountability. That's what a lot of parents have told us they enjoy. They want somebody else to kind of hold them accountable, because you said it can be overwhelming. It can be some pressure to do it correctly. And so if it would help you to ensure that you have some accountability to hold your hand and kind of walk you through, then the Abeka Academy video option may free you up to be a little less teacher, a little more mom. Your child's education is still in your hands, but you've got some support and accountability behind you.
And with that, Amy, I think this is a perfect opportunity for those moms that say, I know I can do this. And all of a sudden they find out they're expecting number 2 or number 3. So what an opportunity for Abeka Academy to come alongside and say, okay, we're going to help you with that 2nd and 3rd grader while you're mom to this newborn or this 1-year-old. So it does give you that opportunity to say, even though I've been doing parent-led, I need to shift for this time in our life. Sure. And that's a great opportunity for families.
I think it's a fantastic point, Charlene, that you can live to homeschool like you did and still use video.
Yes.
Because as your children get older, or like you said, a new baby or a health challenge that comes along the way, there may be a season where this meets your needs. And you're no less committed to homeschooling, but it meets your need for that season. What an excellent point. And even though those are the two ends of the spectrum, parent-led and Abeka Academy video accredited, there's a whole lot of flexibility in the middle. One of those could be the Abeka Academy video independent study option. You are still utilizing the master teachers for Abeka Academy, but you're not opting into that accredited accountability option. You want to do independent study. You want to keep things flexible to meet your child's needs. I know one of the things you're going to talk about later is how every child learns a little bit differently.
Yes.
So this option would give you complete flexibility to use the video program in whatever way you see fit. It would still fit within a 12-month time frame, which is typical for accredited or independent study as far as that option is concerned for video. But this option would give you complete flexibility. Now with the accredited option, you're going to get transcripts and report cards from Abeka Academy. With independent study, you're going to keep up with those records. So lots of options for you here, all the way down to single subject options. It's for elementary, obviously a number of them in high school, so you may want to teach everything except chemistry, and you can do that in 11th grade by getting just that single subject video for chemistry. Even more recently in elementary, we've introduced single subject options. So you may enjoy teaching the academics, but you might want somebody else to come alongside and teach Bible and even use it for family devotional time. So you could purchase just the single subject Bible in the elementary grades to come alongside, support you, give you some downtime to sit there with your child and listen, instead of being the primary teacher at that point.
And I have a perfect example of that. Our oldest daughter went into nursing. That when she was in 3rd grade, she had decided nursing was what she wanted to do. I love the sciences, I love the maths, I taught math, but she got into chemistry and I was like, this is not gonna work for me. So we brought along that independent study, an individual subject study, and was able to incorporate that into her education.
That's awesome.
It just, there's things that we're not going to be able to teach, and Abeka comes alongside there again and just helps you through that system.
What I love about it is it truly is flexible to meet your needs.
Yes.
Because there are options, it can feel overwhelming, but the whole point of having options is to be flexible enough for you to craft exactly the journey that works for your family, that works for your child or children. So just feel that hope that even though you're having to make choices, and sometimes, I don't know about you, Charlene, but sometimes I just want my husband to decide what we're going to eat
Oh,
tonight.
yes,
I'm
absolutely.
done making choices. Get through this season of choices. You really can't break this journey as long as you've got the support within your family and of organizations like Abeka coming along beside you. Absolutely. But do what works for your family. Feel the freedom to make the choice that's right for your family. So if we look back at those three options just one more time and just try to summarize the benefit of each again, and you know what, I chose this little book icon beside each of these for a reason, because they're all equal options. None of them are really better than another when it comes to what's best for your child. You have to decide that. But parent-led, you're going to be able to purchase the materials all from Abeka, these physical materials, the books, the curriculum that your child needs, but you will do all of the teaching. Other end of the spectrum, Abeka Academy's video accredited option, where you're going to get all of the materials along with the expectations of how the students will complete the materials. You will be submitting the completed work to Abeka Academy, and we'll tell you in just a little bit how to know what to submit and what you don't have to send in, so that Abeka Academy can validate that work for you, be able to issue those report cards and transcripts, and provide you all kind of support along the way. In the middle is the Abeka Academy video independent study option, along with all kinds of eclectic options. You can choose a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And if you go to the catalog on our website and you're still having trouble deciding what's best for your family, reach out to us here at Abeka. Let us help understand from you what you want for your family, and then we can help you select the options that would meet that need. You can reach out to us even today through info@abeka.com to get some support along the way.
And I think it's a good point that people do reach out. You're not in this alone. There is an entire community of homeschool families that Abeka serves that want to help you through this process. So you are definitely not alone. Take advantage of calling individuals here at Abeka and getting that help and information.
I love it. And even the Facebook communities.
Yes.
I know there's so many Abeka homeschool Facebook groups that people can join and just get support from other moms.
Absolutely.
I saw a mom post just recently. She's going into her second year of homeschooling. She said her first year didn't go so well because she didn't listen to all the advice she was given. That totally cracked me up. But she said, okay, I'm ready to listen. So give me your best ideas. I look forward to implementing them for a successful year. Again, you can't break this because there's just so much support along the way. So don't hesitate to reach out. So Charlene, and again, I think you and I talked about this before we started. I think we have about enough content today for 3 or 4 conversations like this.
Yes.
We're going to hit it high level, cram in as much as we can, and then obviously we would love feedback from you of what you would like to see Abeka elaborate on in the future. But let's say that we've gone to the website, we've opened the catalog that's digitally there on the website, we've selected the options, we might have reached out to Abeka for some support to make sure we're getting exactly what we need. So we've made the purchase, and let me mention this. If you make a purchase for Abeka Academy video, there's going to be a 2-step process to that. The first step is going to be to purchase the grade level enrollment that you're looking for. The important second step, once you've completed the purchase of that enrollment, is what we call a fulfillment step. It's really the step where you register your child. You say, okay, I purchased a 4th grade enrollment. Now I get a link in my email to register my child. So I'm going to now say that 4th grade enrollment is for my son Jaden, and he's going to do the accredited option, and I want this and that. You're going to have several choices to make in that registration process. So I know sometimes that can be a little bit confusing. Hey, I'm purchasing 4th grade, but I don't see where I'm making the option between accredited or independent study, between DVD or streaming, between in the high school print textbooks or digital textbooks. Those choices come after purchase. You get to make those choices in the fulfillment registration process. So don't be alarmed by that. So you press buy or okay or submit or whatever that last button is, and you kind of sit back, I think a little bit relieved. Okay, I've made the choice.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here.
And that relief, does it last for about 30 seconds before you're like, okay, now what do I do?
That goes away as soon as these beautiful boxes appear on your doorstep.
I love it. And so we're going to walk through those boxes here in just a second. But we know there's a little bit of time between hitting that button to purchase and fulfill or register, and then the boxes arriving on your porch. And sometimes as moms, we're in school mode now. We've made this decision. we've got to have something to fill the next few days while we wait for the boxes to arrive. So one of the things that we wanted to suggest to you today is that you go to our blog, because a lot of times what moms want to do next is purchase supplies outside of just the textbooks and materials. We all want to get the pencils and the pens and the folders and the notebooks and the index cards and all those fun things that make it school at home.
I remember that when I was a kid. I used to love to go to the store and pick up my supplies for my classroom. Well, guess what? Now your kids, you're going to get to share in that enjoyment with your children and go pick up these supplies.
There's nothing quite like a fresh box of crayons, right?
Oh, I love the smell of crayons. And they're all nice and pointed. And absolutely, I love them.
They start snapping them in half and you go buy another box. I love it. So as you look to, okay, what else do I need to make this school year successful? I want to run to the local store and pick up exactly what I need. Or maybe today it's more digital and it arrives on our doorstep again in a couple of days. Go to the blog and you're going to find all kinds of things on the blog. I think the blog will keep you occupied while you wait for your boxes to arrive. But one of the articles that's recently been posted is about the school supplies and does include a school supply list. So this will help you to see exactly what else you'll want to be successful during the school year. So enjoy the blog resources that are available to you there. And let me mention one other thing to you. There may be some other supplies that you are interested in that didn't come in your kit. I'm thinking of video customers, but really even parent-led, because there's different options for complete kits and essential kits and all of the different terms that, again, the catalog is going to spell out for you. You may purchase a kit and then you may say, you know what, I've got another $50 in my budget. I'd like to pick up a couple of other things. And I see parents frequently ask, whether it's here at Abeka or in these Facebook groups, what would you recommend if I've got a little bit more to spend? And that's really going to be up to you. You may want to set a history charts. You may want to set, you may want a seat work digital teaching aid. In our lower grades, during the reading time, we typically have other work that students can do academically to just help solidify what they learned that day, worksheets and other activities for them. And the digital teaching aid for seat work is an inexpensive, I think it's less than $20, but it gives you for every single lesson a digital image that you could project up on a screen for your child so they could see exactly what pages that you want them to complete to reinforce the learning. That may help fill in some of that time where you're helping another child.
Right, definitely.
I'm sure you're having
you can keep yourself busy, yes, a little bit.
As you bounce back and forth. And moms do an amazing job of making that work. Again, I would ask for as much advice as you can about how moms make that work, but know that you're going to hear all kinds of advice from people, and you're going to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you're going to do a little bit of your own that nobody recommended to you, because this is your space.
Absolutely.
This is your school. You get to craft this to be what you want it to be.
And you do. And give yourself grace. Please give yourself grace. I didn't give myself grace, and I almost drove my husband nuts the first couple of years because I was harder on myself than I was anyone else. But take that time and just say, you know what, we're going to take this one day at a time and build the classroom that you want. Your classroom is not going to look like everybody else's classroom, and that is absolutely okay.
I couldn't help but think of the fruits of the Spirit that God's going to gift us in the midst of this journey.
Absolutely.
There are days where we're going to be uncertain, but we can have the joy and the peace along this journey because we know it's what we're called to for this time. We know it's what's best for the most precious thing that God has gifted us with, our children.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we've got our school supplies. We've got things that we need. We know the boxes are still on their way. We're probably eagerly checking our email for confirmation from Abeka that things are on the way. But there's something else for us to consider along this journey, and that is our homeschool space. And again, this is something where everybody's different. Everybody's going to set up their space a little bit differently. And I know homeschool moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles are often asking for, give me some ideas of how I can set up my homeschool space. Again, you cannot do this wrong. So you figure out what works for you. Did you ever change your homeschool space partway through the year?
All the time.
Okay, good.
All
so that's
the
okay
time.
if we do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Just like teachers sometimes turn the room. I know in my classroom I often would turn the room and rotate it the other direction for half of the year just for variety.
It became new. It became fresh.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
So we're going to share with you some pictures that homeschooling families shared with us of their space. My only hesitation in showing you these pictures is that you not feel any pressure to set your space up like this. This is only
Agreed.
a little bit of inspiration.
Yes.
You've got to do what works for you. I love this space. We've got 2 learners in this room, and they can see each other, they can interact with each other, but they've got their own space to keep everything organized. And I love the color. I love the inspiration.
Beautiful.
And I could see maybe this seasonally changing to reflect the changing of the seasons to keep this fresh. So Bree, thank you so much for sharing your picture with us and letting us share it in today's conversation. Here's another one. And Faith was a little bit hesitant to share this picture with me. I went to her specifically and said, Faith, I'd like to see a picture of your homeschool space. And she said, oh, Amy, my space may not look like everybody else's space. I said, Faith, show me your space. She sent me the picture and I said, that's perfect. Because what I see here, Charlene, is space that was just useful space in their home that is neat and tidy and ready to be homeschool space. But they didn't use it as a classroom. It didn't take over their home in the sense of a dedicated classroom where with all the visuals and everything on the walls. But I love the fact that it's just neat and tidy, and it worked for their family. I can see her sons working in this
Absolutely.
space.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad Faith shared that with us because not all of us have a dedicated room to set up as a classroom. This was likely their home office, perhaps could have even had a bed on the other side of the room there, but it still worked for their homeschool space. I think one of the keys, even more so than what you do in the space, is just keeping it tidy and organized.
Definitely.
So everybody's got that sense of calm, security.
Yes.
Not the chaos that sometimes envelops my life. Here is a picture from Brandy, and I couldn't help but ask Brandy's permission to use this one because she also has 2 learners, at least from what I can tell from the setup. Notice how she set up her bookcase kind of down the middle. So she knew, and this is part of knowing your children. Bree knew that her children could see each other and still be okay with staying on task and on focus. It looks to me like Brandy thinks that her children might be more like my boys and need just a little bit of separation to be able to stay focused. But Charlene, I love the other things that we see in this picture.
If I did it again, this is what we would do.
You said that
I love this picture. It is fabulous. I love the exercise. If you have a boy and a girl, they learn differently. Children learn differently. And let that boy bounce on that trampoline while he's doing some recite work while the other child is sitting and focused. I love this room.
I love being able to go from the chair to sitting on the squishy ball there, just to change things up. It just helps with variety. And I know some parents who have already started their homeschooling adventure this year have said, my child is having trouble staying focused for the amount of time that I need them to school. You've got to let them take breaks.
Absolutely.
You've got to be sensitive to that. You know what? The classroom teacher was sensitive to that. You may not have been in the classroom and been able to see it, but classroom teachers watch for their students, and when attention starts to wane, they have them all jump up and sing a song and do some jumping jacks and take a trip to the water fountain. So as moms, we've got to be sensitive to that.
Absolutely. The classroom, the traditional classroom, is set up for that 6 hour or 7 hours where those children are in those rooms. And like you said, the teachers are very sensitive to it. But as a parent, remember, you need to be sensitive to it too. It was hard for me. I will admit it was very hard for me. And I finally, after number 2 came along, it was like, okay, she's my different one. She she was more active. Emily was one that was very studious. She could sit, she could focus. But my little Catherine, not so much. She just had a lot of energy, very much like her dad.
I love it. I love it. Don't you love how you can see your children in yourself and in your spouse?
Absolutely.
Same on our end. So I love how Brandy set up that space with just those extras. So again, you have just got to do what works for you. And Charlene, I didn't have this necessarily on our notes that you and I talked through ahead of time, but you alluded to something, and that is kind of the schedule. Is it okay to not all, do we have to start at 8 o'clock? Do we have to end at 3 o'clock like school did? What advice would you give?
I started off that traditional school, and my favorite story to tell on my oldest is Mom, I just really want to go to real school. Please let me go to real school. And
I'm like, this wasn't real.
Very true. And I said, okay, so we got up when Dad got up, we all had breakfast, and I put her in the car. And I drove her around the block as if we were driving to school. And I said, okay, now let's get out of the car and we're going to start our lessons. And we went through every lesson, and I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry, Susie in the back isn't done yet, so you need to keep working. So I really made it a traditional school day. And at 3 o'clock, she still had seat work. And I was like, I'm sorry, you can't go out and play. You have to do. She was, by the end of the day, I do not like traditional school. I want to be homeschooled. So the next day we went back into our normal routine. Wow. And it depends on what grade, you know, that kindergarten through 2nd grade, I think you can complete a lot of the videos or instruction within about a 2-hour time frame with your seat work and whatnot. But as I get older, that time does stretch further. But sometimes we would start at 8, but I would get a phone call from my mom when my father was sick, and that would move us into our day, and we wouldn't start till maybe 8:45. Sure. So please be flexible. Don't make this so rigid that you're beginning to hate school, your children are beginning to hate school, because then you start butting heads, and then the joy is gone from it. And then you have to refocus and get everyone back on track. So be flexible. You don't have to go 8 to 3.
This is supposed to be enjoyable.
Absolutely.
If it becomes so tedious that it's not enjoyable, something's wrong. And I'm not saying you need to stop homeschooling.
Agreed.
I'm just saying something in the dynamic isn't balanced.
Agreed. And that's where that give yourself grace.
Yes.
And also move that grace to your children too. Because there's going to be days they're not going to want to do school. It's okay.
Yes.
But you're going to coach them through, and we're going to do school, and maybe pull back a couple subjects and say, okay, we're going to take a look at these 3 things or these 4 things, and maybe put that science off, or maybe put that history off a day. It is okay.
It is. You know, again, moms may not realize this, dads may not realize this, but sometimes teachers in the classroom did that. The day sometimes didn't go. An unexpected fire drill, a pep rally, things would happen, and the schedule wasn't perfect that day.
Right.
So as you feel this pressure to try to replicate what might have gone on in the classroom, just know that the classroom might not have been as perfect as you thought either. Charlene, you alluded to the amount of time it takes to homeschool, and I think there can be a lot of variation depending on the option that you choose. Parent-led, independent study can have quite a bit of flexibility. You mentioned that even with accredited video, kindergarten, lower elementary, 2 to 3 hours a day of video with some added work that they do, some class work that they do to support that learning. High school, that time can go up between 4 and 5 hours of video depending on the day, because they're taking 6 courses for credit. One key thing to remember, and again, this is going to vary depending on the option that you're choosing, but in many states there are minimum requirements for the net number of school hours in a day or in a week, or the number of days in a year. So just depending on what guidelines you're following, you're going to use whatever option you choose flexibly to work with that particular guideline, and Abeka is going to be ready to support you in that all along the way. May be helpful to you to know that many school years are 180 days according to the laws of the state. Abeka provides 170 lessons. So why do we do that? Well, we want you to have some flexibility again built in. So Charlene, did you ever do a field trip? Did you ever do something outside the box?
All the time.
Good.
All the time. We really even used that extra day. If we went on a field trip, it was a field trip to a museum, but we turned it into an education. We took a trip to Washington, D.C.
Love it.
And that is the year that we taught our 3rd grader how to do a newsletter. Instead of writing Grandma and Grandpa, we had her do a newsletter, and she loved to be on the computer. Her dad is in computers, so he sat down with her and put her on a publishing type of software, and she dropped a couple pictures and wrote little paragraphs about our trip, and it became every vacation. That is how she told her grandparents what she did. And it became wonderful. And now it's my treasures. I love those little treasures because those are now in my keepsakes.
Of course. And you have to have that keepsake box. You got to add that to your supply list, Mom. Get a keepsake box that maybe is not part of your formal portfolio that we'll talk about in a minute, but something that are just part of your treasures and your memories along the way. I love how you made life be your canvas for homeschool. You made things that perhaps would have just been vacation. You made it part of your education.
Absolutely.
You found the value and the benefit outside of just the entertainment. I heard a mom say just the other day that she schedules her homeschool week to be Monday through Saturday, and I thought, oh my goodness, how do you do that? How do you not have a day off?
Wow.
She said it's because they end up taking one day off every week. It's not always the same day, and she wants that flexibility.
I love that.
So she just plans ahead. We're going to have school Monday through Saturday, but actually one of those days probably doesn't end up being quite as much school as it is whatever comes up in her life.
I kind of like that.
I like the flexibility of that as well. Had one other thought. Is it okay to homeschool in your pajamas? I won't ask you if you did it, but is it okay?
We did. I openly admit it. Absolutely, we did. Because you know what? That's my school. That was our children's school.
That's exactly right.
And it was fun. Now, when I noticed they were not being as attentive or thinking that they could get away with it, that privilege was taken.
Sure.
You know, but they earned those kind of things.
I love it.
Yeah.
May put some moms and dads' minds at ease to know that Abeka Academy video is not a live stream of videos, so nobody is seeing you or your children on the other end. This is pre-recorded classroom instruction that's delivered to you via DVD or internet streaming, but nobody's going to see inside your space as you are homeschooling. So I'm going to ask you the opposite question. Is it okay to homeschool in a school uniform that your family has chosen?
Absolutely. If that's what they want to do. We did not.
Yes.
I don't think my girls would have liked that.
Sure.
But if you want to, it's your school.
Absolutely.
There are no rules except for what the state gives you to complete your 180 days.
Right.
What they give you that you have to follow. But there's no rules when it comes to your home, to your family.
That's
It's what you and your husband decide to do.
Did you tell me you named your school, your homeschool?
We did.
I love that. Even gave it a name. So it was kind of official as you kept your own records
Yes.
in more of an independent study option.
We started off fun with Milner Madness, but then we just became Milner Academy.
I love it. I think that's fantastic.
It was ownership.
Sure.
It was ownership for the girls.
Sure.
And we like that.
I think that's great. So again, you do what works for you. You can do it in your pajamas. You can have a set uniform. You can just have them wear what you would consider school clothes or play clothes, and it doesn't have to be the same every day.
Right.
Wonder if parents have ever considered doing like theme days. I know I did that in my 5th and 6th grade classroom. We would have spirit days. We would have color days. We would have cowboy days. We would have hat days. Those kinds of days can keep things from getting monotonous too.
We had birthday weeks.
Oh, I love that.
The week of the girl's birthday, and we always took their birthday off.
Oh,
that was always our day that we would build in our school year. We took their birthday off. And we would have breakfast with Dad. And then we would not take Daddy's birthday off, but we would pack a lunch and we would take it to his office and we would have birthday lunch with him.
That's really
So it was just
special.
something you build into your time. And
So, I mean, those are memories that wouldn't have been made
absolutely
without living to homeschool.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I love that. That's so fun. Okay, so here's what's happened again, just refreshing. You've placed your order, you're waiting for your boxes to arrive, you've gone and purchased any extra supplies that you need, you've set up your homeschool space. We've talked a little bit about, you know, just kind of organizing your thoughts around your schedule and how this is going to work for my family. Charlene, I had a thought and then I lost it and it just came back, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. We've talked several times, alluded to state requirements, legal requirements. I wanted to be sure that our listeners know that we have a whole session on that and on how to approach this legally, where a representative from the HSLDA joined us, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, who is a wonderful organization to partner with on your homeschool journey. So I don't want you to feel like we're alluding to something and not supporting you in that. There's a whole nother video that would be a help to you on that. So take a look at our video collection and let that be a help to you along the way.
And talking about that, do not let us saying Homeschool Legal Defense Association scare you.
Right.
It is really just a organization. The state is organized to help you stay accountable for the hours that you are not placing your kid in a traditional location, but within your homeschool. So don't let that cause fear, because it's not something to fear. It's not fearful.
Restrictive in the sense of you can't make the choices we've just talked about.
Correct. And as long as you're keeping your attendance and you know what you're doing with your class and you keep this portfolio that we have referenced, everything will be fine.
It's part of that confidence too, that you're not breaking it, you're not doing it
Correct.
wrong. It just gives you a little bit of that security.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so the next part's probably one of my favorite parts.
Yes.
And I have to show you some of these photos as well that customers have shared with us. It is eventually box day, and your porch ends up filled, depending on how many children you have or how extensive your order is, with these beautiful boxes from Abeka that represent the amazing choice that you've made to homeschool.
Absolutely.
And I'm so grateful to these families for sharing their photos with us of their box day. And so often we just hear about the excitement and the enthusiasm that the children have to see that their boxes have arrived. Every once in a while you'll get a picture of one child that's super excited and a brother or sister that's like, not ready for this. I'm usually that's your
Definitely.
one that's still loving summer, and that's okay. They will
Right.
get on board, encourage them along the way. But I love the enthusiasm that I see in these families for the choice that
so
they've
happy.
made to homeschool. They are, and I love
it.
that.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do next.
It's my favorite. I'm sitting here getting giddy, and I'm not even homeschooling this year. But when these boxes come, to me, it's a fresh start. It's a new beginning for a new year, and to me, that is what is super exciting.
It's Christmas in whatever month that you're homeschooling in, so I love that.
Definitely.
Well, let's do it then.
Okay.
Let's unbox a little bit of what we've got here at the table, so we can kind of talk parents through what happens on box day. So, Charlene, we're going to each open a box. And this is first grade material that we ordered to kind of talk you through. And this is, I knew I was going to do that. I was opening the wrong box, so let me get into this one. This is going to represent, to start with, more of our parent-led options. So this is going to help you see that if you ordered a first grade kit, student kit and parent kit, so that you could teach your children all day, every day. Well, I don't mean 24 hours a day, but the entire school day at home. Then you'll see what you'll get along the way. So Charlene's going to be pulling out parent materials. I'm going to be pulling out student materials. So you're going to get, don't they? You're going to get the student textbooks that you need. Now, in many cases, Charlene, this work text is the end of the lesson. It's not the entire lesson. It's not even the beginning of the lesson. There's teaching to be done first, and then along the way, there's a workbook page to help reinforce that. So you do want to get what we would call the curriculum lesson plans, and we'll be showing you some of those as well. But this is the student product that gives you the student worksheets to support what's going on in your lesson. And then Charlene's got kind of the accompanying teacher product that's going to give you the answers to
and we need those answers, moms, dads.
It's not that you can't do first grade arithmetic, but we want to make it easy for you to make it amazing on your homeschool journey.
And what I love, ours is just as colorful as a student.
So that's going
to I love that.
Keep us all engaged.
Yes, absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right. So some parent and student materials along the way. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this box and just show you a couple more things, but I'm eager for Charlene to get into her box too, because I know she's got some things that are specific to the parent. We've got a science book here, a history book here. In lower elementary, first grade down into kindergarten, science and history are part of their activity time and building their reading skills. So you won't necessarily see it as a dedicated science class or history class, but just comes part of those other activities. I love this in first grade, the Bible Friends activity book, some coloring sheets that just go along with the Bible lessons that are being taught that day. One of the things I wanted to show you here is that this kit came with 3 different first grade writing tablets, and that's because we know that as you work through the year and you use the tablet paper for different activities, you're going to need more than one of them. So if you get this and think, why do I have 3? I thought I just ordered 1. You're going to want to have, it's like ordering 3 packs of notebook paper. You're going to want to have more than one of those to complete your year successfully. So you'll get a kit of those, and if for any reason your child grabs one of those and starts doing their own doodling in them, you can certainly come back to Abeka and order an extra one along the way. Charlene, what else did you find in the parent box?
Just for teacher in me, and I love putting these things all over my walls, all the charts, the manipulatives, and it just brightens up your room. And we have the counting and the verses that go with them, and it's just a lot of fun, and the children can see exactly what you're teaching them. It's no longer just on a piece of paper on their desk. You get to throw it up on the wall.
I love that.
And
they're
share with them.
perfect size for the homeschool classroom, because you don't have the 12 feet of board space.
Right. You're not going to have that 2 by 3 foot piece. I mean, it's 8.5 by 11,
so it's
and you can just throw these up, and then your blends, and yes, your multiplication and division, and your children just look at it and go, but you know what? They're going to see it every day, and they're going to learn it. So don't be intimidated by these boxes. I think they're very fun, new, fresh, and very exciting for the classroom.
Great. That's great. So let's dig a little deeper in your box, because I see something on top that looks interesting to me, something that's more suited toward parents. I love that, the reading one
love
answer
keys.
So parents going to get all the answer keys that they need along the way.
And then our history, science, and health.
Okay, so this one is a big deal, because as parent-led, you've got to know what what to teach.
Right.
Not just, again, that student textbook, but this is what's going to give you those lesson plans. So on a day-by-day basis, it's going to tell you exactly the information that you don't have to be an expert in history, science, and health.
Exactly.
This will make you the expert.
And right in the front, it even tells you how to walk through it. And if you have questions, please contact us, because we want you to be successful.
Absolutely.
We don't want you to be frustrated. Success is what we want to see happen.
We have academic advisors, and
Absolutely.
if you're not sure how to impart that concept, you need a little bit more help, then you can certainly reach out along the way.
Oh, see, I just want to go teach someone's child right now, because these are just so much fun. Your test keys, your seat charts, I mean, it's all here. So getting the kit, it's excellent.
That's right, and we could just keep digging and digging and digging through these boxes. I know not everybody watching is a first grade parent, but wanted to give you some idea of when you order a student kit and a parent kit for parent-led, you're going to get all of the resources that you need to be successful along the way. I think that's fantastic. I'm going to set that box aside because I have one other box that has some other goodies in it. And this is going to help us see a little bit of the difference between what you would get in a parent-led kit as far as those curriculum lesson plans and all of those charts so that you can do all of the instruction, as opposed to what you would get in a video kit. You're still going to get all of those student materials.
Right.
And you're still going to get answer keys, both for the student texts and for any quizzes and tests, because you're going to be responsible for keeping up with your child's academic progress. But you're not going to get those curriculum lesson plans because you're not the one providing the instruction. Instead of getting those curriculum lesson plans, you're going to get two really key pieces, one of which is the DVDs, if you ordered that option, or you'll get the online access to the streaming, and you'll get this video manual. We're going to talk quite a bit about this video manual in just a few minutes, but this is your lesson plan for the day, much less detailed than if you were doing parent-led instruction. But that's what you've chosen. You want the teacher on the video to do the instruction. This is going to help you be successful as that on-site teacher, that on-site proctor, to know exactly what materials your child needs for each day and what you should expect them to be accomplishing on a daily basis. We'll take a little bit closer look at this one in just a moment. So Charlene, I know you homeschooled in elementary. Did you homeschool in high school as well? I guess you did, because you mentioned the chemistry.
I did,
So I wanted to take a look at just kind of what that kit looks like for high school, and I chose an 8th grade option for us today. So just a couple sets of DVDs. What's different about this is that in elementary, if you order a full grade, you get everything combined on your DVDs. You've got day one, all subjects. In high school, there starts to become a lot more picking and choosing, especially as you get up into 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. You've got some elective options. So these are going to come separately. And I know a lot of times parents, as they transition from 6th to 7th, think, oh, why can't you just put everything together? Well, it's because your child needs to have options when they get up into high school. Their interests start to play out in their academic calendar as you see fit. So each subject is going to have its own set of DVDs. So you'll kind of be swapping these out more frequently throughout the day, but that will support the choices that you can make along the way. And similar to that, and again, sometimes parents say, can't you just combine them? But you get a separate manual starting in 7th grade for each subject to, again, support whatever it is that you've chosen for your child to study that year. They're all similarly laid out, so it's not difficult to follow, but you do just have to keep up with the different pieces. And I think I would probably put flags at the top of the lesson so I could just really quickly each day take a look at what my child needs to be successful along the way. Here's a question that we get sometimes is, how do you handle PE in homeschool? And that physical education, that physical activity is important for them. Even all the way up into 9th grade, we do require 1 physical education credit in 9th grade because that's part of what most states would require. And so you're going to get a manual. There's no video to go with PE, but you will get a manual that will help you in directing your child to have that dedicated physical activity on a daily basis, and you can just record that for your record, or if you've chosen the accredited option, to send those records into Abeka Academy. Other things that you'll get, and I think I referenced this already, but you are going to get, as you need it, a student copy of a book, and then also if you're expected to check their answers, then you'll get the teacher copy of the book as well. And one more thing I wanted to show you is this. If you were doing parent-led for high school 8th grade literature, you would probably purchase the student book and the teacher's edition, because that's what would have the lesson plans and all the extra bonus enrichment ideas. If you're using videos, again, you don't need the lesson plans, you need your video manual, but you do want to check answers, so you would get an answer key.
Right.
So you don't have to read all the stories.
And the answer keys are so important, especially when they get up into those upper grades, because you, like you said, you don't want to sit and do the lesson yourself, have the answers, and then maybe second guess yourself.
Yes.
So having those answer keys are vital.
Yeah. So that was kind of fun. I mean, it was abbreviated, but we got to dig through the boxes just a little bit and see what families will be receiving in their boxes. And again, yours are going to be unique to whatever it is that you've chosen to purchase, whatever program that you've gone with. But I love it. So here's what I'd like to do next, because I know sometimes parents are a little bit unsure of the accredited option, the independent study, the video option is really what I should say. The video manuals, again, become kind of your right arm on this journey, that you want to be involved in your child's education. So the video manuals are what is going to give you the opportunity to have that bird's eye view of what's being taught to your child. And I love that, because I know sometimes when we send our children to school, even though we entrust them to the school and to the teacher, we don't always have a lot of insight into what they're learning during the school day. This video manual is going to tell us exactly what the video teacher is teaching to your student. And I know I mentioned it already, but know that in elementary, if you order a full grade, it's going to be a single manual. In high school, if you order a full grade, you're still going to get one manual for each elective, each subject that you choose in that elective. I want to show you just some internals of the video manual, because I think it'll be a help and give you a little bit of peace of mind as to the value that is inside the video manual. And I know that we're starting to get a few questions, and one is asking, when do I see those options for DVD streaming, for accredited, for independent study? That is after the purchase point and during the fulfillment or the registration process. So please don't be alarmed and not finish your purchase because you feel like you missed a step. Purchase a 4th grade enrollment, and then you'll get an email link telling you to go and fulfill your enrollment. That's where you'll register your child. You'll fill their name in. You'll choose accredited or independent study. You'll choose DVD and streaming. If your child's in high school, you'll be able to choose between printed textbooks or digital textbooks. Watch for that email. It's also on the confirmation page after you purchase. That'll be a help to you along the way. So let's look back to the video manual again. When you open it up, you're going to see a list toward the front of textbooks and materials. Most often, this is just going to list out for you what's coming in the kit that you've already purchased as part of your video enrollment. Occasionally, it will list some extra things. So if you do have a little bit extra in the budget that you'd like to be able to spend, it will give you an idea of what additional items that you could purchase if you chose to. I also wanted you to see this abbreviation key at the bottom. We do try to keep the video manual as short and succinct as possible, because we know how busy you are managing your child's homeschool education, in many cases multiple children. So after the first several uses of a full title, we do start to abbreviate book titles. So if you ever need to refer back and see what those abbreviations are, there is a key right in the front of the manual. Charlene, we talked about schedules earlier, and so it's important for parents to realize that there are some schedule guidelines in the front of the manual to give you an idea of how much of this subject is video time and how much of it is their, we call it independent work time.
Right.
Seat work is sometimes what we refer to it in the lower grades, but with pretty much every course, there's going to be video time, and then there's going to be independent study time for them to complete the tasks that have been assigned.
Well, and with this schedule, especially if you're jumping into the high school, your child has went to traditional school all the way through. Now they're in 9th grade, and you're choosing for your family to place them in being homeschooled. Look at that schedule. It is going to be a great tool to help you manage, especially the 6 subjects that they're going to have in high school, really to plot out their day and to just be that great guidance for you, which is great.
I love that. I know we've referenced several times about having multiple children that we're homeschooling, and these elementary video manuals also include a page that kind of shows you how to coordinate couple of different grades. So in this one, third grade's highlighted because it's the third grade manual, but you can see how to incorporate kindergarten's schedule with third grade or second grade schedule with third grade, wherever your children fit. I love that. That addition came as a result of feedback from the families that we serve. They said, I'd like some help with this, and then we found a way to incorporate it right into the manual.
That's great.
Please know that our job is to make it easy for you to enjoy your homeschool journey. So if you see opportunities along the way for us to provide more helps to you, we would love to have your feedback in that regard. As you get deeper into the video manual, there's a whole section at the front. We call it front matter. I don't know why we call it that, but that's just what we call it internally. It is a wealth of information. It's almost the encyclopedia to help you be successful in this homeschool year. And I don't know about you, Charlene, but I don't read encyclopedias for fun.
No.
So I might look at this at first and think, oh, do I have to read through all this information? I just want to tell you that there's a gold mine here of understanding how the program works, of what your responsibility is, of what your child's responsibility is, of what the video teacher is going to provide. And so any time that you can invest reading through this at the beginning is going to pay dividends.
Think of it as school orientation.
There you go. That's the perfect way to think of it. I remember when I attended orientation for my children, I didn't always understand everything that the teacher told me that day, but a week or 2 or 3 weeks in, I'd go, oh, that's why they told us that.
Right.
It's the same way with this.
Yes.
It might not all just totally make sense before you've watched a video lesson, but it's just meant to be that background to help you be successful as you jump in. So enjoy the value that's provided there. Past that introductory front portion of the manual, you're going to get into the daily guides portion of the manual. And I love this first page past the title page. It says, before you begin, and it kind of summarizes the really high important points of everything else that was said in the front of the manual. So you might have read that as soon as your boxes arrived. You don't start for another month. You get ready for day one, and you have that panic attack the night before that, do I really know what I'm doing? How do I start this tomorrow? This page just kind of summarizes the bare bones.
Yes.
Here's what you need to be able to press play on the video on your first
Put
day.
a little sticker on that page.
You might need to go
You'll go back to it.
I love it. I love it. So here is an example of what you're going to see in a video manual page for a lesson. I chose lesson 1 on purpose, and I wanted to show you that it's 2.5 pages long. It doesn't stay this long all year, but at the beginning, we want to provide you as much help as you need to answer your questions along the way. So there is added detail here and different notes just to help you understand, again, how the video is going to work and what you're going to need to do to help your child be successful. It doesn't always take 2.5 pages. In fact, it really never past the first week is going to take 2.5 pages to tell you what to accomplish on a given day. Note a couple of important features. You've got a preparation column and you've got a procedure column. So preparation is what you do before that school day starts. Procedure is what you do during that school day. So whether you prep at night for the next day or you prep early in the morning for that day, this is going to spell out exactly what you need to have ready for your child. It's also going to just tell you a little bit about what your child's going to be doing. Notice the first one says memorization, Hebrews 11, 1 through 6. That's a recent addition to our video manuals. That all happens within the video, but moms and dads were saying, I'd really like to know what they're working on because we could work on it at the dinner table at night. We've given you some of those little tips along the way to help you to know exactly how to interact with your child in regard to the specifics of their education. So just enjoy the information that's provided there for you. Here's a call out of a particular subject. This one is spelling and poetry. Notice right underneath spelling and poetry, it tells you what list and what page number is being completed in that lesson. Again, that is something that was requested by our customers. They wanted to be more hands-on. They didn't want to just trust what was happening in the video. They wanted to know. So this tells you at a glance what pages your child is covering that day. And then again, just tells you what to have ready, tells them what list is introduced that day, tells them the poem that they're going to be working on. That's just telling you ahead of time as part of your preparation what they'll be doing. Notice how easy the procedure is later in the day. It says make sure students have class materials ready, so everything that's listed in that first column, make sure your child has access to that. And then it just says play the video. And it's really just
press play.
Yeah, for that day and that lesson. That's it. And watch your child. Make sure they're actively engaged in the lesson. They'll enjoy participating right along with the students in the classroom. But it really is just press play on that particular day. So it'll just walk you through. And then I wanted to show you a later page, lesson 15. Notice it is just a single page from Bible all the way through art. Very succinct, just little bits and pieces for you to know. I pulled out the history here to point out to you that anytime you need to give an assessment, something that would typically be graded and recorded for a grade, that's in a gray shaded box for you. That's just to draw your attention a little bit more, because you're going to want to be right there when your child takes a graded assessment, so that you can supervise and make sure that they are taking that assessment with integrity. I do want to point out on this one, this is unique to third grade, that the first few assessments in history are practice. They're not intended to be graded, but they are intended to be given as an assessment to kind of ease them into taking history.
Absolutely.
And science quizzes. So give it as if it is being graded, but just know, and it notes it here, this particular one is ungraded. Also underneath that lists the homework. So the little book icon, there's an icon key right there on the page, tells you that that's the homework. Now, Charlene, for a school student, homework was assigned during the school day and completed at night. Does it work that way for homeschool?
No, they're able to complete it. What I loved is Emily could complete her work while I was working with Catherine on something. So we finished the lesson, she would go right to her seat work, and then we would move. And it was great because we would bounce back and forth like that to when Dad came home from work. We had family time. We had dinner. We were able to have a game night. We were able to do family things, if there were church activities or whatever. Homework did not interfere with our activities at night when Dad came home.
I love that. So figure out what works for your family and your child. Sometimes homework is helpful in the evenings because there's been a break from school, and then it kind of reinforces in a second setting what was taught that day, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can do what works for your child. In high school, if you want them to do their Bible class and then their Bible homework and then their math class and then their math homework and their English class and their English homework, you can do that. Experiment.
And I would say the one thing we did in the evening, Dad would get involved. I love when dads get involved, and my husband would get involved, and he would quiz the vocab words, or he would do the spelling with them, or their Bible verse memory. So that got him involved at that level, but it wasn't like an overwhelming, you have 2 or 3 hours worth of work. Now, obviously, when they got into high school, Emily would have more study time that she would have to do in the evening, which was okay. But we knew that was to be expected.
It's adventure, and I love the fact that we get to craft it. We get to script our adventure along the way. Let's take a look at just a few more things. In the back of the video manual is a wealth of knowledge as well. There's an appendix section really for each subject that your child's going to cover that day, and there's just all kinds of helps back in this particular section. I chose the writing one because I wanted to point out the cursive formation guide. I know that sometimes students coming to Abeka for the first time get a little bit concerned about handwriting in cursive, and I wanted to let you know that for the very first grading period that you come to Abeka learning cursive for the first time, you can opt out of that first grading period receiving a handwriting grade. You will follow the directions in the video manual for that in the accredited program. Now, we do have the option for K4 and K5 to choose manuscript, print handwriting, or cursive, but as you get into those other elementary grades, and cursive is the option that Abeka has chosen, you can read on our blog why we think cursive is a great option for students to learn, but we can opt out, or you can opt out of grading that for the very first grading period, and realize that for every one of those elementary grades that have cursive only, that the instruction at the beginning of the year always starts with letter A in every grade, and so they are introduced to each letter, and your students will become more and more proficient with their cursive handwriting. In the accredited video option, the Abeka Academy's academic team is going to provide support for you through validating your work and issuing those report cards and transcripts. But you will still be doing most of the grading yourself. The reason for that, the biggest reason to me, is because you want your child to have immediate feedback of how they're doing. You don't want to have to wait until you can gather all that up, mail it in to us to be validated, and then receive the report card back. They need to know that day or in the next day or two how they did on that assessment. So with the exception of the final exam for each quarter in grades 9 through 12, which Abeka Academy will grade, you will do the grading and send it in to Abeka Academy for validation. Grading handwriting can be a little bit intimidating when you get started, but I wanted you to know that there are sample graded writing papers back in the appendix to give you an idea of what an A grade looks like, what a B grade looks like, what a C grade looks like. And you can reach out to Abeka Academy's academic team for additional guidance in grading those writing papers. And then again, for those choosing the accredited option, you'll want to take a look at the home teacher materials in the back of the video manual. Now, I will say this, if you've chosen independent study, you still get these materials in the back of your manual. You can use them however you choose to. But for the accredited students, this section will give you a little bit more guidance as to the specific requirements in the accredited program. And we'll also provide you with these progress reports, which are your guide to successfully submitting your work, the graded work that your student has done and you have graded, to Abeka Academy for validation. Wanted to point out a couple things to you. This is from the left-hand column of the front of that progress report, and it holds your hand to tell you exactly what you need to send into Abeka Academy. You don't send every worksheet. You don't even send every quiz. You do send the tests. It varies a little bit by grade, but look at this information and it will assure you of exactly what you need to do to complete this progress report successfully and submit that work to Abeka Academy. I also wanted to do a call out of the right-hand column, because just like grading writing can be a little bit scary at first, grading reading can be a little bit intimidating at first, and we are going to help you with that, because you're going to grade, in this case, you're going to grade lesson 18 in reading, following the guidelines that are provided in the video manual, but you're actually going to have your child call in and read to someone in Abeka Academy for lessons 13 and 23. Now let me tell you something. They're not talking to an actual person when they call in. It's a recorded line for reading that someone listens to later. So have your child, help your child call in and read whatever the assigned pages are just for a couple of minutes on that oral reading line, and then later someone will come along and listen to that oral reading and provide the grade for you. Don't let your child be intimidated by this. If it scares them, they don't even need to know that you've called in. You just dial in, you set the phone aside and say, hey, read these pages to me, and let them read to us. That will help to ease the butterflies, the fears along the way. We just want to hear their reading ability. We don't mean for it to be something scripted or that they're having to put on a show. We just want to see how well they are doing with their reading instruction. And I've seen this on occasion, Charlene. They'll call in and the child will get a little bit of stage fright, or they'll mess up, or they'll drop their book, and the parent ends up hanging up, and then they think, oh no, that's going to be graded. Perfectly fine for you to call back in, have the child re-record that messed up reading session, and then just send us a quick email. The email address is right there in your video manual. Let us know that you know there's 2 submissions. Please delete the first one. Please grade the second one. That's not a problem. We can work all of that out for you. And then I did want you to notice that there is a place on the progress report, and again, this is specific to the accredited program, for you to sign saying that your child has completed the video instruction. This is part of getting those net instructional hours in for the school year, and part of us being able to validate your work is the assurance that all of that video instruction has been watched. Again, an independent study, it's completely up to you. You could mix and match and teach one day and have the video teach the next, but for the accredited program, we will ask for your assurance that those videos have been watched. Wow, we've gotten through a lot, Charlene. And there's really one more thing we wanted to mention, and I know you said we could spend a whole session on it, so perhaps we'll mention it briefly now and revisit it later. But I've gotten all these materials. I've read through my video manual. There's a lot of pieces here. Any suggestions for how we organize? Is there just one way to do it?
No, there's so many ways. There's probably 5, 6 my top ones that you could do, but get a crate. Get a crate, 31 hanging files with folders. Put their everyday work goes in here. Build it out 1 week at a time, especially that first or second week. Do not fill out your whole month, because what happens when you miss one day? You're gonna be a frustrated mama. Oh, I've got to move this one. I've got to move this one. Don't make it that hard.
Are you recommending using pencil instead of marker?
Pencil, and get a big eraser.
There you go.
Absolutely, a big eraser. If you have 2 children, get color coded. I just simply colored the tabs of this, put the child's name. They'll know if they're blue or purple, but color code, or even your folders by the red, the yellow, the green. if you have 8 children, you're going to have to get very creative.
Sure.
But I think it's a wonderful system, and we definitely will come back to this because we could spend a lot of time in telling you how to get your materials into a system that makes it easy for your budding 3rd grader or 4th grader to be very independent, come up and they get their seat work folder, you sit and have their lesson with them, and then they already know what they have to accomplish for the day.
That's great. That's great. And we had with us too one of these just expandable file folders that could be used similarly.
Absolutely.
And to your point, if you've got multiple children and limited space, these might be an option that you could just kind of stack up in the closet, pull them out each morning, keep it organized along the way. And really, we've mentioned that word portfolio. This
is perfect.
This is your portfolio. All your portfolio is keeping a record, a log of the work that your child has completed. So if you organize it there to pull it out, just put it right back there.
Correct. And it's not every day you have to put something in that portfolio. What we did is we took every 10th lesson that the girls did and we put it in a 3-ring binder. So every 10th lesson, instead of going back in here, it went into a binder. And then every test went into a binder.
I love that.
So it was very easy. Don't reinvent the wheel. There have been many people that have gone before us doing this. So glean from them and it'll make your life a lot easier for sure.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Okay, we're going to have to wrap it up because we've already gone a few minutes longer than we intended to keep you. Thank you for staying with us. I had to share this because, again, I saw it in a Facebook group where mamas were encouraging each other. I saw one mama say this, and I wish I had captured her name because I would certainly want to give her credit. She said, new homeschoolers, academy parents, it can take a good 4 to 6 weeks to get into a routine. Take a deep breath and be consistent. I thought that was such good advice. It's okay if it takes a little while to iron out how you'd like this to work. Some have even signed up for accredited and then decided to switch to independent study. That's okay. Some have signed up for independent study and just before they started said, I think I need to switch to accredited. I think I need the accountability. You do need to do that very, very early in your year. We can't jump in halfway through and validate what you had done in independent study, but you have options along the way. So figure it out, take a deep breath, ask for some help. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Another one posted this. Wendy is her name. She said, it'll be fine. Take a deep breath. You'll mess up. I love that. I almost pray that we do mess up in the first week because I think once we've had that first little mess up, we don't have to put as much pressure on ourselves to be perfect.
And if we allow ourselves to mess up, guess what we're allowing our children to do?
That's a life
We're
lesson.
allowing our children to make a mistake.
It's okay.
And it's okay because the new day is coming and it is
His
okay.
mercies are new every morning.
Absolutely.
Take a deep breath. You'll mess up. You'll excel in areas. You'll figure it out. And it's fun. And I think, again, that's key. You've got to enjoy the journey. So make it enjoyable for your child.
If I can share one thing, every year we started, we're going to make it through this year. We're going to make it through this year. And we literally took each year at a time. We went through 18 years between the 2 girls, but our oldest just graduated with her master's in nursing, and it was only by God's grace. It was nothing that this mama did, but be consistent with her schooling. And that is something that I can encourage you. They will be fine if you make a mistake.
Faithfulness is key, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We can be faithful to the commitment. The Lord's going to be faithful to meet our needs along the way. And you'll look back on it with the wonderful memories that you have. Well, it has been a pleasure spending time with you today, talking a little bit about our homeschooling journey and how to unpack your options with Abeka. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. And some of you have even asked questions in this webinar. Don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@abeka.com. We would be happy to be a help to you in any way that we can. This will be a continuing series of interactions with you along the way. I think next week you can look forward to a blog that will be on Classroom on a Budget. So help you to set up some classroom space with a minimum amount of investment. And we would welcome your feedback as to whether this was helpful today, any topics you'd like us to expand upon in the future, and then any new topics that you'd like us to introduce as we continue and attempt to walk alongside you through this journey of homeschooling to be a help to you in any way that we can. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.